Nothing compares to the feeling of spending a hard-earned dollar, and nothing takes away that feeling like the scolding received by a parent for doing so. The smell of a freshly bought pair of shoes is priceless, and there's no such thing as having too many sets of clothes or too many pairs of shoes, contrary to my parents' beliefs, which they constantly make me aware of. Whether you're the scolding parent or the trigger-happy child in this scenario, the constant is conversation. Today I'll be discussing how conversation and conformity can be used by parents when having financial conversations with children. I will begin by explaining the patterns of both conformity and conversation in these discussions. I will then explain how some parents tend to use the conversational approach. And lastly, I will explain how others tend to use conformity. According to the Essential Communication 101 textbook, conformity refers to the diversity of beliefs and values in a given family. Conversation refers to the degree of communication of a wide variety of topics. A family high in conversation orientation will be open to discuss a wide variety of topics, while those low in conversation orientation will exchange a minimal amount of private thoughts. A family high in conformity will seek agreement and harmony, while those low in conformity will tend to prioritize individualistic growth and independence. Now that I have explained the patterns of conversation and conformity, I will explain how some families tend to use the conversational approach. The Mediterranean Journal of Social Sciences published an article discussing the taboo surrounding financial conversations. In this article, the author explains how behaviors, thoughts, and habits regarding money can be passed down to children, which is why it's important to ensure a non-hostile environment is kept and openness and responsible communication is maintained. An example of having high conversation orientation would be a parent talking to their children about spending habits and financial responsibility. This demonstrates high conversation orientation because the parent is being open to talk about a variety of topics, including finances. In my experience, my family has been open and maintained a high conversation orientation, which has proven to be beneficial to my spending habits and financial responsibility. Now that I've explained the conversational approach, I will explain how others tend to use conformity. Author Andrea Banochinova writes an article discussing how families of low income tend to have financial conversations less. In these families, financial conversations will be left unhad, which proves to be devastating to the child's overall responsibility with money and their future regarding finances. This is an example of high conformity because children are being expected to obey their parents' rules and cannot have these conversations which are kept off limits. In my experience, there have come times where it has been harder to talk about finances, and this has led me to make my own financial decisions without the help of my family, which can be hard sometimes when going through it all for the first time. Having conversations about anything is not always easy, but being open and having an open mind and seeking high conversation orientation will always help. Families high in conversation orientation will typically encourage open conversation regarding all topics. Families high in conformity orientation tend to avoid conflict and seek agreement in all situations. Parents who use a conversational approach will remove the taboo surrounding financial conversations and make it easier for their children to feel comfortable talking about these topics. Those families high in conformity will often be the cause of bad financial decisions and bad overall attitudes towards financial conversations. Awareness of the environment set in a family and educating your child on correct spending habits can often be beneficial, and eliminating the discomfort that comes with having these conversations can prove to be helpful to a child's financial future.